So Lauren, I do want to say it's fine. It's a long time coming having you on the podcast, and I really appreciate you last night when you were like, Declan, I'm gonna get a nice rest. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep, and I'm not gonna get too drunk, so I don't lose my voice. And here I am, with my voice is like it's dwindling away. I did exactly what you didn't do. Put it that way.
Well, honestly, I kind of did the thing I didn't want to do anyway because I should have gone home at like 10 p.m. But, we're good.
It's never how it works out.
Yeah, we're all right. We got our energy still here.
Oh, yeah.
This is a long time coming. Should we just jump right in and talk about you reaching out on LinkedIn back in January?
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool starting point. Declan posted on LinkedIn saying we're looking for some help, and you were on a vision trip with St. Thomas, correct?
Yes.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi.
And you woke up one morning and there was a couple LTE bars coming through, and you got a note, and you were just checking your LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
And we posted, we're looking for help, and you reached out, and that was in January. And then we grabbed coffee over by St. Thomas at Quixotic.
Yes.
And I knew right away. You had worked with Scott Ballard, and you just knew your stuff. You were just like asking the right questions. And I was like, we need help, and you are our answer.
You're the source.
You are the source.
It's just so funny to me that I was at the right place at the right time when I saw that LinkedIn post, because I didn't have cell service at all except for that day. And I was at the top of a mountain. I could have been doing anything, and I don't know why I checked LinkedIn.
Of all things.
Of all places. Yep.
Of all things. So, yeah, then we met up and...
Bring the mic just a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. We met up, and I didn't know what it would be like. Like, I totally thought you guys were going to be, like, intimidating interview. I didn't know what I should wear. All scared. And, yeah, after sitting down and talking, I could tell it was going to be a good ride.
Good balance for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'd like to start also just like a little bit of background about you.
Yeah.
Could you give us like kind of just an introduction context to like where we were at, or who you are, and that would kind of fulfill like our vision or our first impression of you pretty much in January.
Yeah. That is a lot to talk about, but I can try to sum up.
Who is Lauren Pahl?
I am a true Minnesotan, savage Minnesota born and raised, and I have just grown up in a very good community with a lot of good friends and people to support me. And I think that I was able to learn a lot along the way to where I am now, about like building strong relationships. So I would say, like, if I'm talking defining factors of like who I am and my personality, I think it is building strong relationships and defining those relationships, and like keeping up with those and making sure that those are strong and valuable. But in terms of just like things that kind of make me who I am, I danced for 15 years of my life.
Damn.
And music is my favorite thing ever. And it's because I've spent so much time. I don't want to know how many hours. Like Spotify does those
recap
recap rap things.
Yeah.
If I got one of those for my all-time life, it would probably be like 50% of it.
Listening to music.
Listening to music. So I think music and like film and like movies, like I've always been so into cinema and just like going to the movie theater, and I really like that, like feeling people get from music or from movies or from a podcast. And so I have really like gotten in touch with the creative side just over my entire life through all of that. And yeah, I think that has translated a lot into me wanting to get involved with the podcast and with media and telling stories, I guess.
Yeah. And I think another awesome part about your personality is you're someone who is very active in following through. Like you set yourself up to make moves in general. And you're consistent. It's incredible. For the Backpocket, you do so many various tasks for us, and we just kind of like throw things at you all the time, whether it's social media based, event based, or really just, hey, Lauren, we need help with this.
Wrapping gifts. You're a Swiss Army knife.
Or Swiss Army knife, no joke. And you're saying yes to a ton of things, and you're good at everything. And that was evident like right away when we started just assigning you things with like writing copy for social posts.
Yep.
So anyone that doesn't know, Lauren is behind the majority of what we're doing on social media, whether it's like tactically branded stuff and then like posting on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram stories. Very active, and it's taken a huge load off of us because Declan and I we carried Backpocket social presence for 3-4 years, and we needed to free up our headspace. So having you in our pocket now is allowed like Backpocket to become a podcast production company because we can actually like think bigger than just the day-to-day things.
Yeah, just like instead of just like focusing on the post and what it's going to be, like you've helped us greatly with that. And I think the other really cool part too is like, if we want to get to where we want to go, which is like we want to be basically an awesome like global brand. I don't know what it will end up being one day, but like what I always think about is like it's going. What I want it to be is I don't know what it is yet, but I know it's going to be something that's bigger than just Andrew and I. And that was what we really set out this year was we wanted to find people that we could teach and that we could like share our wealth of knowledge with and have them take it and run with it. And we're sitting here in this room and it's the three of us and Marcus. Like this is our 2020.
Yeah.
Seriously, like teaching Marcus how to fully produce a podcast live here. Like you're crushing it, Marcus. It's phenomenal. And then you on the flip side of things where you're helping us run all these social things or everything on social media and all the strategy behind it. But I think the coolest part about it is like Andrew and I could still continue to do it, but there's so much to do now. Like there's so much more to do that we had to bring on someone else to help us do it. Like you taking our LinkedIn from like 90 followers probably at the beginning of the year to like, I think we're almost like 500.
Yeah, something like that.
It's freaking crazy. Like there's just different pockets of content and branding and places to put our stuff out there that you have taken and run with. And it's just awesome. You're a doer and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I just appreciate more than anything you guys giving me the trust that you have with it, because obviously when you're working with someone new, you don't know how much of a doer they are and how much say they want in things. And especially, and I'm sure you guys could agree that back when I started, it was a lot more, okay, what do you guys want? How does this look? Whereas now I do know that we have that trust where I'm just going to go ahead and do that post or make that copy. And that's something that has helped me grow so much because I have taken so much more confidence away by doing this for you guys that I'm going to be able to use moving forward. Whereas if I were just taking classes on how to do social media at school, I would be back where I was in February.
Right. It's a lot of in the industry learning to get ahead. I also want to talk about the podcast you started recently. Talk about you being a doer and staying consistent and accepting challenges. Our other good buddy, Ben, who posted on his Instagram story, Podmas?
Podmas.
Podmas.
Yep.
And it was like the middle of December, or maybe it was the beginning of December.
Yeah, something like that. It was
and
like
something around the lines. And yeah, he's like, I would love, I'd like to challenge a certain amount of people to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And he challenged you and you took him up on that challenge. How's that going?
It's going well. Yeah, that is the thing. It's a blessing and a curse that I don't take challenges lightly, and I will step up to the challenge most times. And so I saw that, and I kind of talked about this in my first episode of my podcast, but I kind of sat and thought about the idea for a little bit because December, being in college, like I'm a junior at St. Thomas, and being in college, especially this year, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and finals were coming up. So I really didn't know if I should go for it, but I sat and thought about it, and like you guys do this podcast and you just kind of went with it when you were back at school as well. And I just wanted to put myself out of my comfort zone and try something new, because I've always kind of been like with the Backpocket, just doing the behind the scenes things. And I hadn't been recording, and I went for it. So yeah, I called that Be Your Journey. And I've just been kind of rolling with how things shape us and the journey that we're all on. And it could be the smallest thing that happens on your day-to-day basis, or it could be a bigger idea. But I've just kind of been taking it and talking about whatever I feel like that day. And I really, like, for me, I'm not trying to even promote it yet. and I just want to learn from it. So yeah,
That's
I'm
sweet.
enjoying it.
That's awesome.
What I really liked about it too, was you did a really good job of like kind of detailing your background in those first 2 episodes and tying it to like the purpose of that specific podcast, whether it was 6 minutes or 13 or 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
you did a really good job about that. Can you kind of describe a little bit of what you talked about on maybe episode 2 of your kind of journey this year in finding a job and going around like the COVID era, or going through the COVID era with a job, and how you kind of maneuvered all of that? I thought that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely, I think it was episode 2. I was talking about how I started this year when we didn't really know what was going to happen with Corona. I was a Spanish tutor for 2 girls in high school, and I worked at the flooring store that my dad works at doing accounting work. I was just kind of all over the place. I like to stay busy, so lots of part-time jobs. And when everything hit with COVID and things started getting shut down, all of the jobs I was doing really weren't necessary at the time. It wasn't essential. And I had a moment, like at first I really wasn't too worried. And again, like being in college, some people have a job, some people don't. It's not really that crucial. And I'm so comfortable with doing my own thing regardless. I don't feel like I need to be at a certain place at a certain point. So I was pretty chill with it at first, but after a while, I was starting to get a little more defeated about it because I had just found out I was going to be going back to work with the Minnesota Vikings as an intern with youth marketing, which I did summer 2019 as well. And when I found out that wouldn't be happening, that was kind of my shoot kind of moment. And it for a while, I was definitely upset, but I turned it around, and having you guys give me more work to do as well, and being able to, I think like it being summer and being warm really helped because we were able to do events outside.
Right.
And we were able, like as the summer progressed, people weren't as terrified of the virus as they were back in March when we didn't even know if we could step into this podcast studio face to face.
Right.
So I really was able to take that and go, this wasn't how I planned my summer to be or my year, but it has been, looking back, the most defining year this far. And yeah, I'm very thankful. Like at the time, a lot of times you think whatever is happening is it's just bad. You're not happy with what's being thrown your way.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned to try to find those silver linings more. And that's also kind of what I look for in my podcast as well. And I think that's something that you guys do as well with the whole Wildly Average thing. Like, we don't have to be superheroes with the glamour. We are doing those superhero things as an average person.
Right. Yeah. And it's an all the time thing, because when you're, especially this year alone, you're seeing a lot of adversity, and you're seeing a lot of just traumatic, habitual events happening, whether it's COVID and social racial injustice, and so on and so forth. Loads of things happening here in 2020.
So many things.
But you have to choose to be optimistic, and you have to choose to find that silver lining, and push yourself in a new area, because it's all uncharted territory. And I think you choosing to reflect on daily things with your Be Your Journey podcast, and also like just challenging yourself to help us with Backpocket, and you also have other jobs, and you're in school, you're a junior.
Yep.
You have a lot of great things going for you, which is really cool. And you're very motivated to find the next step of like, okay, I've done this. How can I use this as a skill to take me to the next spot? Doing event stuff for the Vikings. And then we ask you, hey, we need help with Boatchella. What do you think you could help us with? Mm-hmm. I'd love to be your event planner. I can help with decorations and like making sure everything gets on the boat, XYZ. And that took a huge load off of our shoulders.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
You as the event planner with all the decoration of the boat, and that whole process just went swimmingly. You had a whole little team. You had a unit of helpers.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Ordering the banners. Yeah, zip tying everything up there. Yeah, that was funny because Caitlin and Ike were there too.
Yep.
So when we were like, "Go see Lauren," and she'll like put you in spots. We didn't have to worry about anything, just those small things, and that's come up time and time again for us. And then you're doing it for yourself. So I know we're kind of like gassing you up and we're throwing a ton of like things at you, but you deserve it. Like this year we've worked with you now for a full year, and we couldn't be happier. It's really cool.
And it's mutual. And I think one thing that you talked about, and Andrew was just mentioning and alluding to it as well, is like we got so much things thrown at us this year in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Just as a whole, and it's the people that can like kind of see through that and like choose to find the certain things that they want to do or how they want to feel or what's going to gratify them or give them energy. And that's kind of what I think this course of like gratitude and what we're talking about here, it all kind of lines up. But when we talk about you just being like a doer, like I think that's so important to like mention, because it's just interesting, because like people can get down on themselves so badly because they are opting into like finding all these different things to get worried about because there's so much out there. But like you really put the work in. Like your podcast is awesome because you work at it every single day. You're good at what you do because you put in the work. And you're like when Sophie and Sydney were talking like, hey, we might have this new intern for Straight Candid.
Yep.
Like how do we operate this? And I was like, honestly, we got so lucky with Lauren because she's a doer, and we got to just enable her right away. We gave her these small tasks, she crushed it, and then it was on to the next thing and next thing and next thing. And it's just cool to like look back and like see your progression. One thing about your story earlier this year was the Doordash experience.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. So I don't even know at what point it was, but after I kind of lost my jobs pre-COVID, I was looking for ways to make money because I signed a lease at a house by St. Thomas, and I had to pay rent. And if I wasn't making money, eventually it wasn't going to turn out too good. So I decided to sign for DoorDash, and like I have some friends who have done it. So I asked a few questions, and you basically like you can choose your hours. You can dash for an hour, you can dash for 10 hours if you want. So I started delivering fast food to people, and I started in Savage and Prior Lake by like at my parents' house when I hadn't moved in yet to my St. Paul house. And then once I moved into St. Paul, I would go all over the cities, go to Egan, Mendota Heights. And there was so much that I was able to just, when you're alone in a car with your thoughts, you can think through so many situations and just really learn a lot about yourself, or like have some clarifying moments because you're alone. Well, you're not talking to anybody else. And another thing is because I love my music, like I just pump my music up, put my windows down on those warm summer days. But another really cool thing that came from that was exploring the cities and exploring Minnesota, because I really, being like growing up and being in dance, I spent all of my free time dancing or doing homework. I didn't really get out. Like being someone who's from Minnesota, I really, before college, didn't know what anything was anywhere. People would come, if like you guys came to me from Colorado or Illinois and you're like, hey, where can we go get coffee in the cities? I had no idea.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to explore, and now like I have all these places in my wheelhouse where if someone does ask me that now, like I have a whole list. I'd had a running note in my phone. So I'd walk by, I think there's it's called like something creamy cone. It's an ice cream place. I still haven't been, but I drove by it and I was like, that's cool. So I just write them down. So when COVID's over, catch me going everywhere to try these places, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Are you still door dashing?
I am. I don't as much just because I really had to crack down on school this semester. But I try to go 2 days a week if I can still.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Always hustling. Finding another gig. Gotta hustle.
Oh, yeah.
It's freaking so cool. I just respect it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know. It was cool because we talked with Jeremy too about this year and like how like just going back to Boatchella, I just love the fact that like we had this thing that we all just like worked together as a team on. Like everyone had their own little things to like their own little like responsibilities within this massive scope of thing. We just like freaking made it happen. And then we turn around and do the same thing for Best Christmas Ever.
Yeah.
Like surprising the family with all those gifts yesterday was just like the coolest thing.
That was very rewarding.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And again, another thing that we didn't even ask you that you just stepped out and did was organizing your DSP fraternity that you're in.
Yep.
And doing a Zoom yoga class and getting together. And then everyone donated a few dollars and you raised almost $150 for us.
Seriously. And
Right.
I have to give credit to my friends Carolyn and Jordan because they put that together. I told them about the foundation and they ran with it. So that was all them too. But I was so happy because I thought that, we'd probably get $50 out of that, telling everyone, if you want to donate $5, come do yoga. $140 or whatever it was. That blew me away.
It blew me away too. A bunch of college students coming together.
Yeah.
Really cool. It's so funny. We already touched on a handful of them, but all the different things you're involved in. DSP fraternity.
Yep.
You're a junior at St. Thomas. The list goes on and on. Like we started this podcast a month from where you're at in your timeline in February, our second semesters as juniors. And we've been doing it now for 4 years. And it's just crazy to think about like we were in your position at the very beginning of this thing.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. How you said you started your podcast just a few short weeks ago. And I was like, oh, wait, we were literally a few weeks ahead, away from starting ours at the same time.
At the same exact time.
Yeah.
What's been out of like everything that you've kind of thrown yourself at this year? What's one thing that what's one thing that you really, really enjoyed that you want to like amplify or 10x like going forward?
Yeah. I have two things, I guess. One is working with the Boatchella event planning, actually, because I'm a marketing major going into marketing. Yes, event planning can be a job that comes out of that in the future, but it was never something that I had thought of before. But I have learned that I'm such a planner and I like to, be an initiator and do things, and being hands-on and talking with people all the time, just having that that setting to be very outgoing, because I do need that, is something I will amplify moving forward with. Even if it's not actually event planning, knowing that I can take a bunch of moving pieces and put them together to make something happen. Because going through my first few years of college, kind of thought that, there's all these steps. You take your classes, you get your degree, you do an internship, you get hired, you work your way up the ladder, and life is life, right? But knowing that like my narrative is my narrative and I can do whatever it is that I want to do. Like, obviously, that's still what I would be doing if I was taking these steps, but in a different way, knowing that I can be the facilitator of where I'm going. I don't know. It was a lot of eye-opening stuff that I was able to see just from being able to help put on an event like that. So I think that would be one of them.
Tripling down on events. I like it. No, that's sweet. Yeah, no, that's a really good. You made it. That's a really good point. Like you're the narrator of your own story, and it sounds so cliche, and it sounds like so obvious. Like, of course, I'm in control of what I want to do, but yeah, there are like a lot of external pressures from everybody, and kind of just in culture of like, get that job right out of college, go and do this, and really put yourself out there into one company and just kind of work your way up. And I mean, thinking about like Andrew, you like lived you're living exactly what Lauren's talking about, where you didn't do that at all. You tried, you tried to go apply for all the jobs, but like you ended
stuck.
You ended up just narrating your own career path right away, and look at you now.
Right. Mm-hmm. You could pick your own path, and I think that's what's most exciting about like what we're trying to teach you, and you're catching on like wildfire. Do you think that's something natural that you've always had, like being someone that's been able to consistently like try new things and be able to not worry about failing? Like you can go ahead and try and be like, if this stinks, so be it. Or has that been something that you've learned over time through dance and other things throughout like your childhood?
Yeah, I definitely learned it. If I go back to about 3rd grade, I was such a perfectionist. If I messed up one thing in school, it was tears. I was not okay with it. So thinking back to then and like where I am now, like if I make a mistake, I'm almost happy because I'm learning from it.
Right.
And I have a takeaway. And yeah, so it's grown over time, but I think dance really helped because you are told a lot of things that you can't take personally. And if you do, you're just going to get eaten alive in that world. So from the time I was 3 to the time I was 18, standing in front of a mirror next to a bunch of other girls, like you sometimes even you're comparing yourself to those other girls, but being told by coaches and teachers to, tuck your ribcage in, stand up straight, jump higher, it just fires every single day. So I learned really quickly through dance to you don't take it personally, and you're either going to be able to make that correction that you're being told, or you can't. It's one or the other, and you are still a person at the end of the day. So whatever that person is telling you to do, like if you're trying your best, that's what you got. So I think that has been really helpful. And also just like in terms of school or work or just doing things outside of sports, I really learned that from my parents. Like they're both very resilient people who they're doers and they want to work hard. Mm-hmm. So when I get involved in something, like I learned as I was growing up, I kind of like learned how to mimic that action that they take.
Yeah, make fear a stranger.
Yeah,
That's the line from Steve Weigel. I'm quoting that. That's gonna be my 2021 line. Make fear a stranger.
I like that.
Because when like trying something new is hands down the scariest thing. Whether you're put into just any new situation or trying something new it's very scary because you don't know what's gonna come out of it. And make fear a stranger. Steve Weigel. He sent me a T-shirt. I'm all about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I clipped out. I haven't clipped it. I haven't exported it yet, but in the ice video, you're filming them on live stream. Jordy's filming the both of you, and he pans right to you, and you're pointing at Lauren. You're like, quoted exactly what you said. Yeah. Quoted 2021 is gonna be "Make fear a stranger." Steve Weigel, I love you. I was like, oh man, this is intense. Minute 23, like,
Too
guys
funny.
Going nuts.
Well, that's another thing that we just threw you in and said we're trying something new here. Managing that live stream.
Yeah.
Pretty not like the craziest task, but you have 30 minutes where you need to keep people entertained, and I can only do so much. I'm in the water, and I'm also trying to like mentally like keep strong. And maybe 5-10 minutes beforehand, we got together, and I was like, all right, so I'm thinking I'm gonna for the first 2 minutes, I need to sit there and like think through where I'm going to be at, and like I'm not going to be talking into the camera, so I'm going to need you to like entertain people. Maybe go to the donation page, and just keep people going, keep the chats active,
keep the chats hot.
Yeah, and you did exactly that. So many people reach out, and that reposting that Instagram story was awesome. 30 minutes of like great content that you had never really done anything quite like it, and you were able to execute it and snap your fingers.
Yeah,
right away.
And I think it helped that I have gotten to know so many of your guys' friends in the community that is surrounded by the Backpocket, because if you had thrown me into that back in February,
right,
I don't think I would have said a word. I probably just would have held the camera and been like, All right, shout out to Jeremy Kofi. And I don't know who that
Right.
is.
None of the names would have made sense.
No. So like being able to interact in the chats, and yeah, I definitely still was like, oh, okay, this is go time, because like you had me pulling up I was watching the donations actively roll in on my other phone. So I had two phones in hand.
And your camera around your neck.
Camera.
Yeah.
So, and at that point I was like, all right, I can't use the camera anymore. But yeah, it was good. I really had a lot of fun doing that.
Simple thing that you executed and you made it. I mean, you could have easily just pointed the camera and had me like talking in and out, silence filled. You could have done, you made sure to go the extra mile and try new things. I'm going to continue to repeat it, but it's working. So continue to do it.
Yeah, it's great. Speaking of continuing to do it, what are some things like that you want to try and do? Like, what are some new things that you want to try next year or go moving forward, just so we know, like, okay, we'll keep that mentally in our back pockets of like
performance review on our end. How can we be better?
Yeah.
And our performance review is on air.
Yeah, well, we're going to go ahead and now we're going to our performance review of the year.
Yeah.
Marcus, glad to have you here as well.
Yeah, Marcus, you're next, actually. So.
But no, like, what I guess instead of talking about like the performance of this year, because we
already circled.
We already circled that wagon.
Yeah.
What things do you want us to like look and try and give you for next year?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of things are you interested in or want to try?
Well, honestly, like we've talked about, I like to try anything I haven't done, because I just want to rack up what I can learn and be able to like give back through that as well. Like if I'm helping you guys by also doing something that is completely new to me, I'm all in. But I really, I just want to be as involved as I can. And I want to see, like, you guys have so many places that you can go in 2021. And even when, like, Declan, when we sat down at that coffee shop and we were you're drawing out your little diagram.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't think you know how pumped I got by that, because I was watching it expand and I could just see in my mind the fact that it can keep expanding.
Yes.
So
yes.
I want to.
Yes, I forgot about this conversation. Yes. Continue.
Yeah. Sorry. No, you're good.
You just got me pumped.
Yeah. And I'm so pumped about it, but I want to help you. Like when I picture moving forward, it's sitting down with that map, whether it's a mental map or a drawn out map or the map that happens by us physically doing those things. I want to be as active in making that map happen.
Dude.
So,
yes, that is
whatever
awesome.
That is.
Yeah. So to give you some context,
fill me in.
This was right before I left last time I came into town, right?
Yep.
Like around Thanksgiving, maybe, or right before it.
It was right. It was election day. It was election day.
Oh, it was the beginning of November.
Yep. Because I went to vote after that.
Yes. That's right. Yes, that's what it was. I remember that now. Okay. No, so yeah, Lauren and I sat down for coffee one morning, and do you remember what the intention of that meeting was? Because we ended up just drawing a map of like what the fuck Backpocket is, but like
honestly, I don't know. It might have just been us catching up because I hadn't seen you, and we were gonna discuss
maybe some website stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We were kind of just going over like a general like task list of different things. But yeah, what it ended up being was like totally transparently, like I went into that coffee shop and we were sitting down and I was like, it's really hard to tell someone like simply what to do when you have so many questions about what you're doing yourself. And I felt that coming out on the paper and I was like, this is so much, like there's so many things going on within Backpocket, whether it's like it really boils down to events, community, media.
Yep.
And we basically like put those three bubbles and like what we do with each one of those. And I'm like, okay, you see this thing, this is what Backpocket's doing right now. And then I wrote down like Straight Candid, the date night podcast, all the X, Y, like we just started going down the list. And I was like, you see this model here? That is going to be for each one of these now. And then like
it just keeps going.
It just
like
keeps going. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. That was basically the meeting though. But I had a lot of doubt, honestly, because like I said, it just was really hard to go into a meeting where I'm supposed to be the facilitator, and I really just like I used you as someone just bounce ideas off of
Yeah.
and talk to, and I think that's the growth. I mean, the fact that you're in our court now, to that degree where it's not just, hey Marcus, hey Lauren, what can you guys get this done for me? It's like, what do you think about this concept?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you have a really good idea of what Backpocket was before reaching out back in February, January, on LinkedIn? Or did you see Declan's message and it was just more of like, description based, saying like, this is tactically what I like to gather. Like, oh, what is Backpocket type of thing? I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, it was exactly both. It was the perfect, like, this is calling me because it's a description of what I like to do, and I know who these people are, and I've been following them for probably 6 months at that point, because honestly it was probably even longer, because I started working for Scott Ballard October of my freshman year of college
at Skyline Specs, right?
With Skyline Specs.
That's when he did when your freshman year, was that the year he did the goodie bags?
Yes.
With all the ping pong balls and beer cups? Such a smart idea.
Yes.
He got like basically party package kits for like every freshman at St. Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
With all the Skyline Specs branding.
But this is where my mind is blown, because then it's all about, like I said, when I was on the top of that mountain looking at LinkedIn, the odds that didn't happen or like didn't play out that way are so high. Like the odds that did happen are extremely low.
Which part?
Like seeing that post at that right time.
Oh, got it.
And then again with me getting that goodie bag from Scott, because I was in Ireland Hall at St. Thomas and he came by with the goodie bags, and I think he actually only went into boys' dorms. I could be wrong. So he didn't come through my hall, and I never would have gotten this goodie bag if I had been in my hall. And everyone takes it. It's almost Halloween, like it's like beginning of October. So he has candy in there, and he has the ping pong balls and just a bunch of goodies. And on the front, it's taped a little piece of paper, internship opportunity, marketing, email Scott Ballard. And so I put it on my desk and I stared at it for about a week. And then I sent him an email and we met up and I started working for him. And through him, I heard about you guys because he went to some backyard concert. Did you guys?
The Yam House
It was the
Halloween
Yam House.
party.
Yes. So he went to that and he told me all about it. And immediately I looked you guys up and I was hooked and I was listening to your podcast.
Gotcha. That connects the dots. That's really cool.
That really makes sense.
Yeah.
I love that.
Isn't that crazy how one thing leads to another?
It's crazy, but it's like also it's crazy because of the kind of the sequencing
and I'm bringing back the puzzle pieces, but it just makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just an opportunity that you chose. Oh, I could have gone so many different directions, but I personally made the choice to go down this path.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's why it's so wild that when you like look back, when you do reflecting, and you're like, wow, I never would have thought I would have been in this chair with how everything's shaped out this year, But it two things. Like the first is like, why are we spending so much time thinking about the future and where we want and how we want it to look? First off, like why take
put that pressure on yourself?
Why put that pressure on it? And then two, like you said, it just makes sense. Like if you just stay present and start making the decisions that you are genuinely evaluating in that time, and you keep doing it, like you're gonna go down a path. You're gonna choose different ways to go, and then you look back and you're like, holy shit, like this is nuts that it all came together that way. But it's just cyclical. I really do think that.
Yeah. And one way that's hard to stay present right now is probably at St. Thomas. You've now gone a full semester over Zoom.
Yep.
You finished last semester over Zoom.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been any of like the things that you had your first 2 years full of St. Thomas community. It's been all Zoom calls. You talked about this on one of your podcasts, how you have a class that nobody shows up to.
Yep.
You're the only one that goes. The teacher is also your counselor. So you kind of feel like you want to continue that relationship.
Yep.
And you're the only one there with your Zoom screen on. There may be a couple other guys there, but they're all screens are off. How is that going? Like how are you able to make the most out of this opportunity? What's life like in school? Like I can't imagine being a junior at St. Thomas and not being able to like engage with the student body.
Yeah, I must say it is difficult. And for me, being such a doer, I need to get out. I need to be active every day. I need a lot of social interaction in my week. And knowing that I'm taking 4 classes all online. And honestly, with my classes, 2 of them were completely online classes. So you don't even talk to the professor. I have 2 professors who never saw my face or had an interaction with me. And all I was doing was submitting assignments through Canvas.
Crazy.
And the other 2 were on Zoom. So it really just sitting in my room. Yeah, you start to go a little crazy some days. But honestly, being around St. Thomas, like the river is right there. So getting out and going on walks or runs or
you're not allowed to go to like any of the student like things that they've built, student center, like things that they built. Yeah.
So you can go to the student center because they still have like the cafeteria open.
Oh, gotcha,
it's very limited. They really encourage people to take their food to go and to do things when it was warm, do things outside. You can't go into any other hall. So my sister is a freshman at St. Thomas in the new dorm hall that they just built. And we technically are not allowed to visit each other at all, even though we live in the same household when we go home. So it's been different. And for me, having those first 2 years of an amazing experience in college, I'm not as upset about it because I know I'm at a different point where it's not just all about meeting people every single weekend in the boys' hall. We're going over to the boy, something like that, or like partying every Thursday night. Yeah. We're going to Ireland. Yeah, that's what it was like. Oh, and the halls now, I don't know if you guys know, they're all co-ed.
Whoa.
Ireland has girls.
Whoa.
How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, those bathrooms are probably a lot cleaner now that's co-ed. Holy shit.
Damn, St. Thomas.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think St. Thomas would do that, but here we are.
Wow.
I wish we had co-ed dorms.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, I think there was something exciting about going over to the boys or the girls dorms. I think now it's going to become so normal. And also the fact that they have such nice things now. Like you guys lived in a college house. I've lived in a college house. If you move into, this is just my thought, if you move into a brand new freshman dorm that feels like a hotel, it's only going to go down from there when you move off campus to a house.
Right.
Where we have such an appreciation for college living. And then when you move out of college, like getting a house where they're so used to this nice place already.
That's a really good point. Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, but I mean, for a guy, I feel like for girls to live in Ireland Hall, like that's a head scratcher. like simply because it is a dump. Like it is the lowest of the low, man. Like that when you talk about like moving out of your nice freshman dorm room into a house that's like not as great. Like
yeah,
I went from living in it was a 3-person Ireland like dorm.
Yeah,
I moved out of that into a house. It felt like
the house was an upgrade.
The house was like the size of this attic space, and like we were like, this is so big.
Yeah,
there's so many things you can do in here. Like it was amazing.
You were one of those guys though that always lived in the living room of the basement.
Oh yeah, I never had a room. Okay. I never had a room in college. I just had a curtain.
To fit one more extra person in the house, the basement would have it'd always have one room in the basement, and then there'd be like a laundry room, and then there'd be that space in between. And Declan would always claim that area. After freshman year, the next 3 years, he lived in the basement living room.
lived under a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
So did you have to hide from a landlord? Like, did they not know you were living there, or was that allowed?
No, it was allowed.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how, but it was allowed in the 2 college houses that we lived in.
Yeah,
it was pretty simple.
Sneaky,
freaking wild.
Now he's in an RV.
Now you're in an RV.
Yeah,
my lifestyle never really changes. Just it basically stays the same.
How is that living in the RV? Like, are you sick of it yet, or are you enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I've never lived by myself. I've always lived with like a group of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool. I still really enjoy it. There are like really a lot of pain in the asses, such as like laundry. That one was a tough one to.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Right now,
your RV does not have a unit.
My RV does not have a washer and a dryer, so the farm that I live on, this guy's got an RV on it, or like he's got his fifth wheel trailer there too that he comes and stays in for at random times. He's got a washer and dryer in his.
Okay.
So like I got to go into this dude's basically house to do my laundry, and the first time I did it, it's like one unit, so you can only wash at one time. You can't wash and dry at the same time. So
Got it.
it really slows everything down. And I fell asleep one night doing my laundry, and I didn't know he was gonna show up that night. So he just came into like my clothes in a hamper, all the lights on in his place, and like the laundry going. I'm sure he wasn't very happy about that. And then I had to go in the next morning when I realized he was there, to go in there and take all my stuff out while he was like sleeping. I was like, what is my life? Like, this is ridiculous. Not to mention like the whole septic tank thing and draining out all like your sewage and stuff.
That's a pain in the butt.
That is a pain in the ass too. But what the best part about the RV life is like this idea that it's just you, and you get to really just like focus on yourself, be in this like really, really unique scenario, and be in an uncomfortable situation where you just continue to learn new things. And it's so perfect for my like doing mentality, because it makes me focus so much on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
To
Oh,
put it
that's
simply.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
You were just talking about being doing the DoorDash and being alone
Yeah.
for extended periods. But I have a feeling that you get a lot more energy being in groups of people.
Yes.
Are you like, do you look forward to times by yourself? Do you look forward, like, what are you trying? Well, how many, I'm trying to phrase this in the right way, but when you're just like going about your day, are you intentionally putting yourselves in positions to wake up and like, I know I can go get coffee with my best friend, and that's going to provide me a little bit of boost energy to go get more work done or whatever? Or are you intentionally going, oh, I need to go take 20 minutes and journal so that I can decompress? Like, how do you find your energy daily?
Yeah, I am definitely fueled by that social interaction. And anyone who has lived with me or seen my planner can tell you that I have to plan one thing for every day to see somebody, even if it's a 5-minute walk.
You do that.
I do that.
Awesome.
It's very
Yeah.
intentional.
It's something I've done since the beginning of college.
And that goes back to you saying how when Declan asked the hardest question of all, who is Lauren? Like, that is not the easiest question to answer.
Yeah, bad way to start.
Bad way to start a
I
podcast.
apologize on that one.
We've done too many of these to ask that one. But hey, you answered it. You answered it incredibly with building relationships and continuing them. Like the way you worded it too was like spot on. Like, that is beautiful. And to hear now that you intentionally schedule out each part of your day or once a day to go see someone and build a relationship or can further that relationship, that's really cool.
Yeah. And it definitely, it's good for me and it's what I need to do. But at the same time, because I'm involved in so many different things, I often feel like I'm spreading myself thin in terms of those relationships. So it's not tiring me out per se, but I have 70, 80 people in Delta Sigma Pi who I am friends with. Like, we know every single person. And then I have my sports business club people. And then I have you guys and your friends. And I have my roommates and my old roommate. Like, it just, the list goes on where I try to catch up with everybody and stay caught up, and you just can't do it. There's a point where you just can't do it. And that's been hard for me to deal with.
Yeah. But you know what? When you say it, like, the necessity to continually catch up is like such a it's a skill. Like, it's hard to do. I personally love doing it too. And the coolest part, going back to the RV thing, is like when I just kind of picked up and moved to Arizona, those people, the task of always continually catching up and staying in touch with people, it just pays its dividends. And when you start to travel more and go around the country or the world, those connections start to show themselves. Like, it's so cool that I'm in Arizona and I have 4 or 5 friends that are there already. I have 2 or 3 more friends coming in the next year, and people are always down to visit. And it's just like really cool that aspect of life. Like, you know how, like, and even when I leave Arizona, I come back here, it's like with Andrew and our roommates and everybody here, it's like you just pick up where you left off. And those are like, I just think those relationships are powerful, and it just like continues to go. So don't get too worried about like, oh frick, I didn't text this person or I haven't talked to them in a month or two. Like, they're always cyclical. They'll always come back.
Oh, for sure.
It's great. Just making the effort to do that is what my mom has always taught me. My mom, like, the reason we took that Christmas card yesterday, always, it's a pain in the ass to like get everybody together and get them all in denim and
To get everyone in
everything.
their
But
denim.
like, Marcus, can you pull that picture up? Like, that is
Yeah,
a
that
beautiful photo. It is a beautiful photo. But what it comes down to is my mom makes us do the same thing every single year. Everyone flies into town. Everyone gets their nice clothes on, and we go out and take a picture.
Yep.
And my mom loves to do it. And she said the main reason that I do it is for what you're talking about. It's they staying connected to people. She sends out, like, I shit you not, like 300 or 400 Christmas cards every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, she has like a book. She has
My
a
mom
book.
is the same way.
It's crazy.
Like the Christmas, that's one way that like our parents' generation loves.
Yes.
Christmas
my
cards
mom
is
and her
like
list too of all the people.
Right?
Yeah.
And they always,
She
and it
loves it.
comes in from the 300 people they're sending it to, or however many. They're also sending them back Christmas cards. So my parents will sit down and they'll get 7 or 8 a day, and then they're open.
day.
Right.
Like over 100 Christmas cards of random families you never met in your
Well
life.
over 100. And I'm like, who are these people? And my mom's like, oh, this is from like this is Christmas cards are so important. Something
are.
I don't like. I just kind of like whatever. Always is like, oh, who are they? Don't matter.
I've whatevered them my whole life too.
Right, but it means so much to your parents because they're getting them, and now there's like a childhood friend. They're getting a Christmas card from them, and they get to see, oh, here's their 3 kids that they haven't seen
Yeah.
ever grow up, and they're like, oh wow, my childhood friend has 3 kids. They're like, oh, they look tall. What are they doing? And then it's always funny, like with the different families posting like this. He's 22, and he's some like 2 descriptions like engineer, graduated college. It's like, all right, let's not like give a bio and description here.
Yeah.
Let's not get carried away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
We better be sending each other Christmas cards still in 20 years.
Yes, agreed.
I think
wait,
we
did
need
you
to.
put your address in on that text to my mom?
Yes.
Your family's going to be getting a Christmas card from my family. I love it.
I'm excited.
Well, that's like what I've been doing these last couple of years though, is I've been just giving like my college and Backpocket friends my family Christmas card, and it's just like so fun. It's a blast.
Classic Christmas card, and we took our first ever big company card photo. We've only always had one intern in our photos. Year 1 was Deck and I. Year 2, intern Sam. Year 3, intern Ty.
Yep.
Year 4,
Look at this.
look at us in denim.
That is the best. I'm just so proud of that picture.
That's a squad right there.
Lauren, you're absolutely killing it in that photo too.
I like the glasses. I'm not going to lie.
If there's one thing Backpocket knows, it's denim and speed.
And I think
that sums it up right there.
Yep. We got all of it.
That's beautiful.
Marcus, you were looking like a treat in this photo too. You just look elite, dude.
That's awesome.
Whose denim jacket was that? Was it like your sister's or something?
Yeah, no, it was my girlfriend's sister. So she wears that denim jacket. She also has one other one. And I was in like need of one after you texted me. And I was like, all right, where do I get a denim jacket at 11 o'clock at night? And so I tried going to Goodwill, went to Walmart, couldn't find anything. I sent out that text to some friends, and she responded, and she was like, I got one. Be here in like 5 minutes. I'll hand it off to you. And so when she did that, I also found the glasses in there. So it all worked out just fine.
Money.
Wait, so the glasses were in the
Oh, yeah.
jacket?
Yeah,
You're joking.
From whatever she was doing before with that jacket, she had those. So she was already good to go.
I did not know that. That
Wow.
was meant to be.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
yeah, no, it
world
was
talking to you.
perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. I mean, the variety of shades. That's incredible.
Yeah, this photo just means it is so dramatic, but this photo means so much to me. Like, this just has so many levels of amazingness to it. Like, I mean, basically, like literally adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 people to the company. Like that's it. That's a company.
Right.
right there.
And not pictured Grant Adams.
Yeah.
Hey, love your writing. Continue to, hammer home the blog
Keep
posts.
blogging.
And Taylor Flood, you will be in 2021.
She's a big ad.
Big ad. Once we finally get Date Night Podcast rolling right now with the second lockdown, we can't really do anything with that. But inklings of the company continuing to grow, which is beautiful. I love it.
And then that's just like, we are the Beastie Boys. Like, that is it. We are.
That's all that I need is to be a Beastie Boy.
Where did you guys start your love for the Beastie Boys? I've never asked.
That's a good question. Why did we start just obsessed? Oh, it was the documentary.
Yeah, we watched on like a Saturday morning. Me, Jack Burke, and Andrew just watched a documentary on the Beastie Boys.
Apple TV came out with a documentary, and it was like an hour and a half, and it was really cool how they shot it. It was Ad Rock passed away, right? There's one of the guys passed away. So there's 3 of them, and 2 of them did a live they toured the country, and they did a live show where they walked through the Beastie Boys journey.
Yeah.
And they filmed it all, and then they chopped it up and made one hour and a half where they just took like the best parts from each segment. So it's a live show documentary. So they're actually talking through everything, and then they throw up like a graphic, and then they zoom into the graphic and they tell this long story, and there's animations and stuff. It was a documentary that I've really never seen before.
Yeah. It was very unique.
Very unique.
Yeah, it was just like a mashup of their best moments from the tour, and then they put all the videos that they threw up on the screen, they just threw up on like the physical video that you were watching in the documentary.
Yeah, I just get excited how they did it, because that's another thing that Declan and I want to accomplish is a documentary. We will be documentarians at one point. I mean, we're documenting our journey through podcasts and all these one-off videos, but there's going to be a specific, either our own personal one, or we'll do it for something else, but we're going to create a documentary.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
But you asked like we watched that documentary, but the reason why we were so stoked about the Beastie Boys and their story was like they were truly the first disruptors of like the rap industry when it wasn't really that poppin' in the late 80s. Like the late 80s were much about rock and pop and just like really great voices, and rap started to show up, and people were like not really understanding or receptive to it. And then it blew up out of nowhere, like right in the early 90s. And there was not a white boy band group of rappers, and they just had like this fuck you mentality and this like against the grain belief, like, or against this grain mantra, but they had just like this inherent belief in themselves to like put out what they wanted.
Right.
And I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it was brash. They were definitely their truest selves, and they wanted to shine that. And then they would always evolve. Like they look back and like, I kind of hated myself during this. Their most successful time was when they released License to Ill, and they 4 years had passed, and like that was actually an album that we hated. Like we didn't like being this type of person, and they evolved, and they share that publicly. They weren't afraid to look back and be like, we were wrong, and we've grown up here. Whether it was like lyrics that were derogatory towards women, and then they were like they wrote another song 5-6 years later saying we were idiots for that, like that is bad, and we apologize, we're better people now. And they would own up to shit like that, and I'm like, damn, the Beastie Boys, these guys rock.
Yeah.
And I want to become a Beastie Boy.
Yeah, the specific instance you're talking about is, I think it's Girls. Yeah.
Girls.
All I really want is girls. But so that song is like completely, if you go back and listen to the lyrics, very derogatory towards females. But some MTV interviewer like reached out or was like, so you just released this new song about how you guys love and respect women, but yet your License to Ill album has a thing that says the complete opposite. And what was the quote that he had?
Adam Yauch. He said, "I'd rather die a hypocrite than never change." And it's like, yeah, of course, like that makes sense. But why is being a hypocrite so wrong? If you're truly changing and you've done something wrong, like, yeah, you should change and be a hypocrite and be like, that is like, I don't know. The way he said it's just stupid.
Yeah, and that goes along with just owning up to what you your failures, your faults.
As you can see, we love the Beastie Boys and can talk about it for hours.
Oh yeah.
But I want to jump back to what we were talking about with maintaining your community and being able to spend time each day to, connect with someone and find energy that way. What is, and you're talking about it being overbearing at times. So I got to ask, what is your average quality? What is something you do well at times and other times not so well? And this got me thinking of that. Like it could be, trying to maintain your community and find energy from it because it can get overwhelming. But I'm curious, what is something you're working on every day that you care about that's also your average quality?
I would say it's probably being a listener. So that goes along with those relationships and having conversations with people. But it's that being more intentional with the conversations that I'm having with each one of you and listening to what you really like and who you are all about. And sometimes I think, like for me, getting caught up in running around and catching up with people, having to sit back and go, okay, no, really listen to what they're saying and live almost like living in the moment more than thinking about that next conversation I'm going to have with someone tomorrow. Like yesterday when I was over here, if I was thinking about what I would be talking about today and not listening to the conversations we were having yesterday, that it's a lot to balance, but that has been what I've been working on most. So really being intentional in that listening to what is actually going on and being present in those conversations.
Love it because it's always something you can work on. Like there's
always.
so many, like we have so many things we think about all the time. Like it's very easy to overlook a conversation if you're not very intentional on it. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, I heard Jordan Peterson talk recently. Yeah, there's like an Instagram clip and it said like describing who a true friend is. And it was about listening, how when you share something with a friend and if their immediate response, whether it's a good or bad thing, is to share something that's happened to them, to compare like how you're feeling or like bring in an alternative source to try to justify or like make note of how you're feeling, they're really not listening.
Yeah.
They're not understanding what you're saying. They might hear you, but they're not listening, because if you're sharing something that's intently like as intense as like something that's negative or something that's ultra positive, and they automatically go, oh, that same thing happened to me, blank, blank, blank. They weren't listening. They immediately started thinking about their own things to then compare.
Exactly.
And the way he said it was really cool. So that's a note that I'm trying to work on right now, is like when someone shares something and there, you can definitely tell there's like was passion behind it on any side of the spectrum. The first thing out of my mouth shouldn't be like, oh, that reminds me of blank. It should be something way different, and just like acknowledging what they said.
Isn't like saying something that's similar to their experience, isn't that like building on the conversation or no?
Yes, but this was his point. It's building on the conversation, but then you're pivoting it in a new direction
To yourself.
Okay. Or to a way that they didn't initially share. Like
okay.
They share that. There's more room for that part of the conversation.
Sure.
And I think there
Does that
can be
make
a time
sense?
and a place for that. That makes sense to me. Like if you're just getting to know somebody, if I just met you today and you bring up the fact that you went to St. Thomas, if I were to not be like, oh yeah, I also went to St. Thomas, if I hold that information, that's where, like, that's a time when you should, I think,
time and place,
talk about yourself, because it's when you're developing that initial relationship, like that first impression in a way, but you're just finding commonalities that you can talk about. So I think when you're at those, first few conversations with someone, it's a lot more normal and respectful, just because that's the way that conversation flows, to be like, oh yeah, and I did this, or that reminds me of this. But I definitely agree, and I see such a difference in college, because people are at such different points in their lives with maturity, where those people, you had a bad day, you want to one up someone with your bad day. It's a little complaining competition, or it's well, that sounds bad, listen to my story. But then on the other hand, there are people who, you want to be more inquisitive and ask, wait, why is that? Why did you have a bad day? Or why are you so excited? What drove you to that excitement today?
Mm-hmm. So that's what when you say your average quality is listening, that was the first thing that came to my head. And it's like, how can I actively, like, what can you do to be a better listener? There's like a simple, like, tactical thing that I'm personally doing.
Oh yeah. No, I love it. I think about it in the sense of like just like podcasting too, like how how like it's just fun. Like the best podcasts come from when you're just like totally present and just like totally listening to what these people are saying. And I was trying like, I feel like that's really helped me in legitimate conversations, because when you're podcasting and you're talking about a certain thing, like you'll bring up certain things along that path within those 5 minutes of what you're talking about that are like super crucial, and that will just like ring my brain. But I'm not going to jump in and say it right away. Like I got to hold on to it, and I got to like see how the next thing turns and how it grows into this new thing. And that aspect of just like being genuinely interested in what that person is saying across from you just like goes leaps and bounds for people, because people just want to be heard. They want to be understood, and they want to feel important. And when you truly listen to someone and provide that next question to build on it, or just like something that's very engaging and shows that you're engaged, that just gives them the ultimate satisfaction of like, okay, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm communicating is being heard, and that makes you feel important. I've been listening, or I've been reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was written in 1936 by this dude, and that's one of the chapters. It's perfect. People just want to feel important.
People want to feel important by being heard.
Yes.
Love that.
There's an example in the book, like Teddy Roosevelt had 90 or 90 some people in his staff at the White House, and he remembered every single person's name.
Wow.
Every single person's first name. And the way he would do it, he would like meet Marcus, and he would shake Marcus's hand, and then in the back of his mind, I guess he would just say that name like 10 times over, and then he'd write it down somewhere, and then it'd be like Marcus, video producer. And then he would go to the next person, do it over and over and over again. And every time he would see these people, he would say, hello, so-and-so's name. And he said that one action as a leader helped, it just goes back to the same point, made people feel important.
Love that,
Freaking
dude.
wild.
Love that. The way we make people feel important is bringing out what's inside their back pocket.
Love that transition.
Yeah.
Guy just has it, dude.
We're
The
dialed
guy just has it.
in. We are dialed in today. So Lauren, what's in your back pocket that you use when times are tough, when pressure becomes stress and anxiety's rising? What's in your back pocket, Lauren?
Yeah, it's hard to put it to words, but if I could, it would probably be resilience, because it has to do with everything we've talked about. You have something come your way, it shoots you down. If you, and this has been something for me, like manifestation, and I wasn't ever really into understanding what manifestation was until this year, just because I had more time on my hands. But telling yourself that you are resilient. So really, more than anything, it's actually it's like self-talk, positive self-talk. But having the mental resilience to know that you are good enough at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks if you are happy with what you're doing and like where you're going with that. So yeah, it's definitely a very abstract thing, but that's what my answer would be. Yeah.
I love it. Manifest. Continue that, because that was I'm not listening right now, but I'm going to say it anyways. From the aspect of me going to use my personal example to relate to what you just said. My self-talk this whole year has been be yourself, be you. I've literally just reiterated that in my brain in every like moment of positive and negative things that have happened. Be you, and just let the things unfold. Don't try to be someone else in these weird situations. And that resilience has unfolded in beautiful ways. So continue that manifestation. I believe in manifestation tremendously. Like when you're laying down to go to sleep, think about what you did today, and like, okay, I could do this a little bit better. Like actively like do it better in your head.
Yeah.
And you will see that over time, that habit build. That resilience is awesome. The self-talk is awesome. I like having that in your back pocket.
Is there a moment this year where you've really had to exercise that resiliency?
I feel like there's been a lot. I don't know if there's anything extremely specific, but just between the being down on myself about not having a job, especially when I see other people, like some people have jobs who are my age and they haven't been affected by this, or even being in a family of people who don't feel as affected by this as me, because I'm a lot more of an extrovert and I don't get to exercise being an extrovert nearly as much as I'm used to. Or even just honestly in navigating any situation that has been uncomfortable or unusual this year, and just overall in maintaining like confidence in who I am, because it is really hard when right now in the world, like so many people are at odds with each other over so many things, or they're getting a lot more irritated over things, and being able to step back from that and not let someone else's bad day or irritability or whatever that is like affect my own perspective on each day.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That's exactly what it is. Resiliency is like one of those things that is I don't know what it's like discipline and accountability in like tough situations with adversity, like remaining, like just staying the course. Like it's not flashy when you pull resilience off. Like it's almost like you were doing what you were supposed to do. It's like getting a first down on 3rd and 1. It's QB sneak up the middle.
Right.
That's
Perseverance, resiliency. They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put resiliency on your resume and like, you know, I don't know, like people, it's like an expected thing, but like people struggle with it. It's hard because it just like, it's hard mentally. Like, I don't know. I think it's great. It's hard to like in those moments that you're talking about where like you don't have a job, things aren't going your way, and like you have to. The resiliency is like just within your own head to just like remain positive and try and find those things that you talked about earlier, like finding the avenues of opportunity, finding the avenues of positivity, finding the avenues of gratitude. Like that, the action of doing that is straight up resiliency. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes sense.
You know who's been resilient this year? Is Marcus.
Oh yeah.
The king himself.
The king himself.
The king himself.
Dude, I want to open the floor up for you to ask a question. We got the whole company here right now. Would you like to ask your employees some questions?
I don't have any like specific questions right off the top of my head like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you've asked this kind of a question.
I know, but
We were talking about that last night.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
No, but it's been really great getting to know everybody and learning more about everybody. So Lauren, I got to meet you earlier this year, and I think seeing you grow from just like the first time I met you like till today, it's just been like a crazy experience to see like your social media game and to see you start your own podcast. As soon as I saw that, I mean, I reached out and I was like, hey, if you need help, I'm there for you.
Let's go.
I know. Yep. He sent me a DM and I was like, all right, he's got my back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been a really cool experience. So while I don't have any questions, I can say that it's been a really, really cool thing to see you kind of grow your brand, your business, and I'm excited to see where you go in the future.
Right on. Appreciate that, Marcus.
Yeah.
How about you for yourself this year, Marcus? What was like one thing that you really liked doing this year that you want to triple down on for like going forward?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I think I realized I really like video production and just production in general. When I started it was just kind of like a hobby. It was a side hustle, and it still is. But now that COVID hit, I've not been able to work as many hours, and I've had a lot more time sitting down thinking about, all right, well, what can I do to do it more? I got one more semester of college, and so it's like, what happens next? There's a lot of kind of open-ended questions like that, and it's, how do I get from point A to point B? So for me, it's the thing that I've really liked doing is just producing content. And I've also noticed that I've really liked gaming. So I've been working a lot on the Checkpoint podcast, which is my own personal podcast.
Yep.
And so far we have 18 episodes, which has been really great. It's had ups, it's had downs, and we're learning from all the downs. And now that we're kind of getting on that winter break, school's off for a little while, work still isn't going to be coming back until like mid-January. It's a perfect time to kind of sit down, reassess, and think about what can I do now that will help benefit me in a year, in half a year, all of that kind of a thing.
Sick.
Yeah, for sure.
We were talking about you, so you're thinking of doing like streaming and then the Checkpoint streaming, and then have that go hand in hand with the podcast.
Yeah, so streaming is something that I'm really anxious about, just because playing games for me is kind of my escape from just everything else.
Right.
It's the time
Good
for
point.
me and my friends to kind of hop on, play Call of Duty, and we all get to just decompress. So streaming, while it excites me and I think it's the right move, I'm a little nervous about it just because it's kind of putting work where it's typically just time to decompress.
Totally agree.
Right.
That's
And
how I
so-
feel about streaming, like video games too. It like feels kind of odd because you're like, okay, now I'm playing in front of an audience all of a sudden. Like, I know it's no different, but it is kind of weird.
It can be different, and it definitely affects your performance. So I noticed way before I started like producing big content, I had my own YouTube channel, so it's out there, and I did like gaming clips, and I would do that, and I would try with the mentality of like, I'm going to post this on YouTube. Maybe a few people will see it, maybe not. And I remember I had one video that hit 500 views, and I was like, oh, like that's a lot of people. And I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this other than like my close friends. So I was like, all right, there's 500 people that I don't know that just saw this. So then every time that I went to go record content after that, that always is in the back of my head. Like there's people watching this that don't necessarily know me. So if I mess up, it looks bad.
Mhm.
So I think with streaming, it gets me anxious, but I feel like there's a good opportunity to set aside time and plan, kind of like Lauren was saying. I'm really bad at planning. So if I plan it out and I'm like, all right, you know what? It's Friday. Maybe for the next hour, it's streaming time. Let's do it. Let's talk about games, and I'll record that, put that out as a podcast, put it out as a video podcast if I want to. And then all of a sudden I have practice in both ends. And then after that hour, I can go back to just doing me.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to give you. We need. I'm so happy we opened the floor back up because you just deliver every single time.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You have a very soothing voice too, Mark. It's like very good for podcasting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, actually.
Well,
Keep
thank
it
you.
up.
And a good flow, like good
Yeah.
pace from your
Great cadence.
great cadence. God, Marcus,
Marcus, God, he's just got it. Something different about it, man. I love it.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this streaming thing because there's something there. I have an idea for you, but I digress. Lauren, we always ask the challenge question of like, who do you think we should have on the podcast?
Yes.
And given our I would actually kind of instead of if you have someone to challenge us, perfect. But then I have a different challenge because you're within the corp, you're in the culture. Knowing kind of our situation right now, I'm in Arizona in my RV. Andrew's in Minnesota.
Yep.
What kind of podcasts do you think we should be putting? What kind of podcasts would you challenge us to put out there with our situations apart? That
Yeah.
would be my specific question.
So this just came to mind. I think it would be very interesting and very eye-opening to go forward with podcasts where you are picking a random person out. And I think this could work really well for you being in your RV if you can drive it.
That's important.
It's
Well,
an
I
important
mean,
aspect of this whole thing. Yes.
regardless, if you go walk down the street to the other person's RV down the street and say, I don't know anything about you, I want to have you on my podcast. And not just limiting it to that, but I would challenge both of you to try to do that and just pull a random person off the street at some event. Maybe there's some commonality you have with that person.
Mhm.
And see what they have to say.
I like it.
Okay.
Hey, that's really making fear a stranger.
Yeah.
Because you're also talking to a stranger who's got a lot of fear of what's going on.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that'd be really fun to just like, I should just interview like some guy on the farm. I think that'd be a fun, just trying to think who though.
Seriously, because I think that a lot of people who are known through connections, like they have a lot of cool things to say, and a lot of people might already know a lot about them, but that quiet person who just happens to be coexisting.
Mhm.
Like when we were in the grocery store yesterday and that guy putting produce down said something to you, Andrew, like that could be the guy where
Right.
he said something to you. That was the spark. And you go, I don't know what you're saying to me, but hey, do you want to come on the podcast tomorrow? Just something like that.
Yeah, the guy that
You
is
never know.
hooting and hollering at us when we were taking our pictures all in denim.
Yeah.
He's driving
yeah.
a red minivan. He rolled down his window. Let's go.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good, I like that idea a lot. The spontaneity of that sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I'm on board. Perfect.
And like also for guests, like I have a little list of
That's
people,
right.
So
That's right. You did text us like a long list, so maybe we start hitting that.
yeah,
100%.
so I don't need to talk about it now, but
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. I love that.
Value add.
Big value add.
Mm-hmm.
Are we on our last question?
I think that brings us to our final
We're
question.
on our last question.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
Ooh, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one question I have for you guys, because I've never really asked, is, and I was going to kind of interject and ask earlier, was looking back to where you were basically at my point in college until now, what have you each learned about yourself? And is there anything that has just like completely surprised you and blown you out of the park?
What I've learned over the last 4 years is I can do anything. I can do it. I can do anything. I can confidently say I will manifest whatever I want, and I'm very proud to say that. That simply, yeah.
Yes, there's a solution to everything.
Right.
Like there's always a path.
There's always a path. You can get to what you want.
Yeah. That is a beautiful way to put it. For me, what I've learned is in the last 4 years, I just think about like all these big decisions that I've been faced with, these moments of time where you have to make a decision. If I've learned anything, it's that life will move on and that those decisions are never as big as you perceive them originally. And being just always having the mindset of just like moving in the forward direction and attacking it with positivity. I just didn't know that it's so different from when you say it and when you do it. And like I don't know how to like really articulate it, but all it is like it's just like you're all like as many highs that you're gonna have in life and have as many lows that you're gonna have. The ordinary line or the ordinary plane in between those highs and lows, like just hold on to those, man. They're like so important and they're so powerful, and just being like grateful for that and just recognizing like this. I think that's the one thing I've learned ultimately in the last 4 years is like I'm like self-aware now. Like I know what I look in the mirror and remind myself where I'm at far more, and that action of doing that over and over and over every day takes all the stress away. That was
amazing. That's why I love you guys, and I love the community that you've built and the people you surround yourself with, because it's hard to come by. It really is. And you guys are so intentional, whether or not you mean to be. And you really are, like, you do emanate positivity and curiosity, and you always like you're excited for what's next. I don't know who said that, but a few podcasts ago you were talking about how you were just so excited for whatever happens next. And that's something that I take away from you guys each and every day. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
hair standing up on my arms a little bit.
I know.
Appreciate it. Well, that brings us to our final question. What did you learn today from the moment that you woke up to when we're having this conversation? And, last night bleeded into today.
Yep.
So you could have learned something, after midnight at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
The Corp had a company party.
Not to brag. We had a corporate send-off, our first Halloween party, or no, our first Christmas party.
Right. All right. So what did you learn today? Or what did you learn today, Lauren?
I think it would be that it's from having this conversation, and even sitting there last night and looking back at how this has turned, like looking at our Christmas card photo, how this isn't just you two talking. It's so much more than that, and there's a purpose. And I think that I have learned that every action that you positively, honestly, it's just that every action has a reaction, and we all know that.
Newton's first law.
But yeah, Newton. But
Newton's first law
seriously.
coming in. You can't go one podcast without talking about Newton's first law of energy conservation.
Exactly.
God
But I
bless.
think that I really just have learned that like every small step has gotten us all to where we are right now in this moment. And I think that's really cool.
It's freaking awesome. It says it right. Oh, we'll go back to the picture. It's like last year we had 1 intern. This year we have 8 people in a photo in speed shades, and that's for 7 people.
1 not, 2 not photoed.
2 not photo, 2 not shown. Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, I like it's just small steps got us there. Small
Yeah.
steps got us here. Like focus on the little things, man.
Mhm.
It's freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I'm so glad and so grateful for both of you. And it's just been a hell of a year. And I'm glad that what I'm most thankful for is like we try so hard to like
To show the value.
to show the
And
value,
to bring people along
and like communicate what this stuff is, this Backpocket thing is. And I'm just so glad that you guys are telling us, like literally telling us, like we feed off the energy. As long as you guys are having bottomless bowls of energy to feed off of from us, then like we're doing our job right.
Amen to that.
So thank you guys for just like being so receptive to that. Thank you guys for just being incredible humans who love to do things because you're incredible at it. You guys are beautiful people. And I'm just so thankful. Like seriously,
Yes.
you guys rock.
Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Mm-hmm.
Back at you guys. I can tell you that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Of course.
Awesome.
Well, that's a wrap here on this podcast. We love you guys.
Take care.
Take care.
That's awesome.